Hello and welcome to Monday at my sewing room. I am your uh, fearless leader for today. My name's Leah, and we're in a multi-day project. We're doing just little snippets of a whole bunch of things every day and building a really sweet little project in tiny little chunks. So we have been working on this about a week, just doing one little technique every week or every day. And we're working on an Aster and zipper pouch blank. So I've got a couple different things going on. We had a prep day at the beginning of last week. We've done some twin needle work. We've done some decorative stitching. We did machine needle felting on Friday, which was lots of fun. And today we're going to carry on and do another technique that if you haven't tried it before, maybe you want to. So we are going to be doing some couching today. And couching is one of those techniques that there's lots of ways to couch. So I'm going to show you just, I think, one, maybe two ways. We'll see. We'll see how it's going. We might do two because I have two things I'd like to do. And we'll do two kinds of couching today. So things you might need for couching. What is couching? Couching is essentially where you're going to stitch something that you can't sew with your needle onto your fabric. So we're going to use stitches on our machine to hold decorative stitches down on board our fabric. So that's where we're headed today. There's a whole variety of feet for both Brother and Bernina that will do different kinds of couching. And each foot varies a little bit. So the Bernina 22 foot has 3 grooves, so it will hold 3 cords. There's a 5 groove foot as well. There's bigger feet for double cord if you're looking for bigger, chunkier piping or couching. There is a braiding foot that will also allow you to stitch all sorts of threads down. And there's a Freemotion couching foot. So a few different options. I'm going to go with the 3 groove braiding foot, or braiding foot 3 groove. And I think that will make me quite happy on this project. So we'll get this set up and we'll show you what we're up to on board the machine, and then we'll do a little test sewing to make sure we're happy before we stitch into the project. So this is the foot we're going to be using. And as I left the machine on Friday, I was all set up for punch work. So I'm going to switch back to a regular needle, switch back to, I'm going to use the 22 foot, which is just a narrow foot. It's not got the 9mm width. And I'm going to switch back to a regular stitch blade. Also going to rethread the top of my machine. I think we'll thread it orange because it will make more sense with the colors of couching thread I have. So the front of this foot has 3 little grooves that we'll be able to feed the cords through. Then they'll go under the foot and under where the needle goes through. I'm going to build myself a little array of thread. And there's a little collection of thread here. I've got 2 pearl cottons that don't come on spools, but we can totally stitch with or stitch over. Got a they're both number 8 pearl cottons. And I've got a number 8 Eleganza, which is a variegated. So with these, when you're starting out couching, you'll want to make sure that these cords aren't tangling. They're all going to move smoothly through your foot as you go. But the grooves in that foot will help hold all of these threads in place for you and keep them in the same portion of the stitch pattern. So they'll be up underneath your foot like that. I'm going to use that little, essentially a spring-loaded guide to cover that. And what we're going to be looking for with this type of 3-cord couching is a stitch that will cover all 3 of those cords and keep them in place. So it's not something like a 3-step zigzag would probably work. Some decorative stitches will work. We don't want too much backward movement because we do need the machine to keep moving forward as we stitch. That honeycomb stitch might do a lovely job. So I think we're going to try the honeycomb stitch to get started with our test. We've got all 3 of those cords happily managed. If you're worried about any of these moving on you, we could tie a knot in the beginning back there so they don't slip back out. I'm just going to go zoom you guys in for the stitching. And we're not going to go super fast because we've got specialty things going on. Let's see if those cords are going to catch where I want them to. We need to do some adjusting. Overall, I'm okay-ish with this stitch, but not 100% thrilled. I'm going to go try a different one. I'm going to switch to that 3-step zigzag, see if that makes me happier than the honeycomb for this. And these cords are a little skinny in the channels that they're sitting in, so I could put a thicker cord in here and they'd fill out the space better. So if these cords are feeling too skinny in this foot, I could switch to the 5-groove foot because it would hold these threads a little bit tighter. Oh, I quite like this stitch. This is the stitch I think we're going to stick with. And so to not cause myself trauma later on, I'm going to pull those tails through so I don't have to rethread on my foot. But there we've got 2 different stitches holding our couched cords down. 3-step zigzag I think looks absolutely spectacular. My middle thread is variegated, so it's pretty cute because it's going from pink to yellow and back, which I think is lots of fun. So this is a type of couching that the machine just manages the cords for you and you stitch. That doesn't even need to be a big fancy decorative stitch for it to be pretty effective and way more interesting than what you might have started with otherwise. I think we're going to put our couching on the back panel of my bag, where I've got my felting as well. Ooh, come back here, little thread. No running away on me. And maybe we will go underneath here this way. Line up around that point. Leave those threads long. Make sure I've got some slack in all 3 pearl cottons that I've got, so I don't fight with them and accidentally pull them out as we get stitching. And to manage these cords once we're all done, we can poke them, we can grab a hand sewing needle and we'll poke those loose ends through to the back of our project or the inside of our project. And tie them off underneath. Sure those aren't tangling as we go. The upper thread. And again, pull out and through so that I leave myself a nice long tail to manage the loose ends of my couching. The variegated thread makes me so happy. So lots of fun, just that simple 3-step zigzag, holding that couching down. If you wanted to add a different color in there or more threads, we could switch to a different version of this foot. You wouldn't have to fill every groove that could have cording in it. You could just fill every other one and have wider spacing between them. There's lots of really interesting ways that you could make use of these cording or braiding feet, and just a zigzag across the back. Nothing too wild there. So that's kind of a 3-cord braid. These we would take a hand sewing needle, hook them through to the inside of the project, and tie them off back there so that they're managed and contained and they're not going to pull right out. If this cord was well managed, you might, we'll go back to my sample piece. If this cord was well managed, you might be able to pull it right out if the needle didn't penetrate it at any point. So we just want to make sure that's not going to happen while you're using your project or playing, carrying it around. We don't want those threads slipping out. So that's the 22 foot. The 25 is very similar and would have more grooves. I think 2 grooves is the 3-groove system made me really happy. The brother feet look a little bit different for the same job. We'll grab a brother foot to show you roughly what it would look like to thread up. So this is the 5-hole cording foot from brother. And again, same thing. There's holes to poke those threads through. We could poke 5 through this one and they would align through all those little holes. So tons of fun. Really neat decorative opportunities with all the couching feet and all the cording feet. So don't be afraid to try all of them. You can't go wrong when you get into the decorative options. There's a couple other ways we could do this. Just thinking about it now, I don't have the cording that I want to do the Freemotion version of this, so we're going to leave that for today. Because there is a Freemotion couching foot for Bernina. But I want a little bit bigger cord for that. It behaves a little bit differently. So that is one way of couching or braiding onto your fabric with pretty simple stitch, or you could get in there with something fancier. Anything you can get those through those cording feet, you'll be able to stitch down and over top of, giving you lots and lots of flexibility. So cording for day 5 with our fabulous pearl cotton threads. We have a wide array of heavier threads from Wonderfill in the Eleganza line and the pearl cottons. So come in, grab a spool of a few colors that make you really happy, and you can embellish along with us on this Aster and project kits, all the different project kits. I've got some new fabric behind me. It hasn't hit the web yet, but it should hit the web very shortly, called Gingham Fields. It is like a scrumptious, springy green. It feels like spring behind me. It kind of looks like spring outside, but I'm not sure for real. I haven't been out all day, so it might be spring out there, but it felt pretty wintry when I came to work today. Those are some of the things going on. Thank you to everybody who's signed up for our Schmetz Needle event. Happening March 22nd. You can still sign up. We will be recording it, so there's even if you can't tune in live, you'll get a copy of the recording afterwards, and you can learn all about needles. That event is happening March 22nd, and we are partway through March this week, so stay tuned. We have something special for you tomorrow. I have a guest for Facebook, which is Barb, and I haven't done Facebook with Barb in a little while, so we've got something special tomorrow because it's a special day of the week, or of the year. Special day of the year tomorrow. So join us tomorrow for that. Sandy's here Wednesday, and then we'll be back with another decorative technique on our Aster and Anne project bag, and see how many more colors of thread we can get on there that are pink and orange, because that's the colors I'm making this bag.